Okay, so go ahead and pull out the classwork, and you're going to work on numbers 10 and 11 on page 5. So the force is strong with those who pause the video and try the problem. So go ahead and pause the video, and I will be back in just a second to go over the answers with you. All right, so let's take a look at this first one. So does meditation reduce anxiety? So an experimenter interviewed their subjects, and each of the subjects rated their level of anxiety. Then they randomly assigned these guys to 2 groups. So one group did meditation. Let's see. So they meditated daily for a month, and the other group was told to just relax more. And at the end of the month, the experimenter interviewed all the subjects and rated their anxiety level. And the meditation group now has less anxiety. However, psychologists said that the results were suspect because the ratings were not blind. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that the participants knew that they were getting something that was supposed to treat their anxiety if they were doing the meditation. And the people who were in the group that were told to just relax more knew that they weren't getting any sort of treatment. And so this can sway the results in terms of if I was told to relax more, I think that would stress me out more. But they also know that they aren't being given something that's supposed to reduce their anxiety. We also have the issue that they know that their anxiety level is what's being tested. And so typically, if I was going to design an experiment like this, I would ask about a whole range of things and have them rate a whole range of different things so that they aren't necessarily aware that anxiety is the thing that I'm specifically interested in treating with them. All right, and then it says, explain how lack of blindness could bias the reported results. So again, if people think that meditation is supposed to help them, they might subconsciously think that it really has helped them. You also have another issue there, especially if the participants know the experimenter or have built a relationship with the experimenter, and they might be hesitant to say that the meditation didn't help them at all. Right? There's kind of that idea that you want to please somebody who's in a position of power. And so they might say that the meditation helped them, but maybe it really didn't help them quite as much. Okay. All right, so that is number 10. And then number 11. So some recent studies suggest that broccoli may be helpful in combating overexposure to ultraviolet radiation. Based on these studies, we hope to show that a cream containing a broccoli extract reduces sunburn pain. 60 patients suffering from the sunburn will participate in the experiment. Okay, so let's talk about what that means. The first question is, why should we not simply apply the cream to all 60 patients and record the responses? So the issue with this is that we need some sort of comparison metric. So we need a group that doesn't receive any treatment so that we know if the broccoli cream helps them heal faster, or it helps them, or it slows down their healing time, or it's just the same as people that didn't have anything at all. So we don't have any sense of how that broccoli cream is working, if it's faster, slower, or the same. Okay. Question 2 says, should patients be told which remedy they are receiving, and how might this affect their reactions? You definitely don't want to tell them which one they're receiving, because that can sway kind of how they perceive that. Depends a little bit on how it's being recorded, that response variable. So if the response variable is the patient's subjective feeling about how bad the sunburn hurts, if they know which cream they're receiving, then that might tend to change how they rate how it works. Okay. Number 3, if patients are not told which treatment they are receiving, the experiment is single blind. That's definitely true. Should the experiment be double blind also? And then you want to explain why. So this again is tied back to how are we going to measure that response variable. So if the response variable is a self-reported measure, like, oh, I feel like my sunburn does feel 70% better, then if the participant is rating that themselves, then single blind is probably sufficient. Okay. If it's a third party, an observer, a doctor, who's going to say the sunburn is bad, okay, good, fair, something like that, then we would want to make sure that it's double blind so that they aren't subconsciously biased in how they're looking at the sunburn and rating it. Okay. One thing to consider with double blind studies is those do tend to be more expensive and a little bit more time consuming. You usually have to hire somebody whose job is to take care of that blinding issue. And so if you don't need double blind, so if in this case, if the subjects are rating their sunburn themselves, you might not need double blind. And so therefore you might not want to go to that extra expense. And that's fine. Just really want to think about how those variables are going to be measured and who really should be blind or should it be. All right, I'll see you in the next video if I can figure out how to stop this.